You are listening to the MS Power User Podcast, which is the podcast for Microsoft enthusiasts and power user. We discuss the latest news from mspoweruser.com about Microsoft, Windows, Surface, Xbox, all that kind of stuff. My name is Vernon E. Smith, and I'm joined as usual by Andy Bennett. Hi, Andy.
Hey.
How you doing?
I am doing really good. It's been a crazy busy day today, way busier than I expected to, as I had to work on a laptop of a really close friend of mine, just to fix that thing up, and had a really good day so far. Well, it's 11 p.m., so I had a good day. Well, and I'll just leave it at that.
Good. We'll finish it strong for you.
Yeah. So how has your day, week, etc. been?
Well, we're still remodeling this house, renovating, I should say. And so today I loaded up all the carpet that we had removed from the main floor and loaded that up on a trailer and hauled it away to the dumpster owned by a friend of my father's. And it was odd because we did this at a late hour, a couple hours ago. And so this is out in the industrial park. And so it feels like it's midnight or like 2 a.m. as I'm climbing in this dumpster and stomping things down, making room for this carpet and the padding and some other remnant, a bunch of bags of garbage I need to throw in there. And I thought there'd be like extra room in this dumpster. It's almost full the way it is. I'm like, well, I'm not just going to throw this stuff here. I need to, be respectful and like pack it in here so it fits. And so it's so eerie. Like there's just a little bit of snow coming down, slight haze, and there's nobody around. It's out in the, at the outskirts of town. I was like, am I going to get reported by the cops or something, to the cops or something? It was odd. But
hey, there's a variety of jokes that could be made about. Wait, you're still in Fargo, right?
No, I'm an hour into Minnesota.
Okay. I was going to say that if you're still near Fargo, I could make a million jokes about that too.
I am near Fargo, especially when you think about how non-near most people are to me that are listening to this podcast. So
that works. That works. So this week's a little bit different than usual, so I think we can just squeeze in a little bit more intro banter here. So how about that Christmas shopping? Because as we record on the night of the 22nd, it is past the point of being able to get anything through shipping.
I just realized that I did not make it to the store today to get the one thing with my children that I needed to get for my wife.
Ooh.
Thanks for ruining my day, Andy.
Whoops.
I was having a great day until I remembered what I forgot.
Whoopsie.
And then this is totally true. My wife is amazing, and so she does all the Christmas shopping except for the one thing I need to get her, which she's very gracious in telling me what that one thing is. So it's fantastic. Except I didn't do it. So that's
oopsie.
Christmas is ruined. I ruined it. So anyway,
this news broken to you live on the MS Power User Podcast.
Luckily, my wife does not listen to this.
All
right. Well, this show is different, like Andy said, and we're going to do a recap of the year.
Yeah.
And it probably won't be a great recap, but it will be good, and it will be entertaining, at least to Andy and I.
Especially entertaining for me, because I've got something planned for the end.
Yeah, there's torture involved, and I'm the recipient. So, well, actually, once you listen to it, you will know whether I am more tortured or your ears will be more tortured. But that's a reason to stick around to the end.
Yep.
Anyway,
let's just say it involves German.
Well, it does involve German, and not German people, just the language.
No, yeah, just the language. We're not torturing any Germans on this podcast.
Let's move forward.
Yeah, that's kind of the point where we have to move forward. Okay. I think
this podcast is about Microsoft. We've been around. We looked it up earlier. Our first official podcast episode, which episode 1. We had 2 unofficial ones before that. Episode 1 came out in. It sounds like Star Wars. It's not. The episode 1 of our podcast came out in what was it, Andy? The 26th.
It was the 25th of June.
25th of June.
And that was the same the episode 1 launched the same day as the pilot, which pilot was a half-hour long introduction to both of us, and episode 1 was half-hour long as well. And then from there on out, it moved on to the traditional, I guess, traditional is what I'd say, or you'd say, whatever. The regular old hour-long episodes began with episode 2. And from our internal notes, we originally were going to have names here, but we had 000 pilot, 000 or 001 podcast, and then 2, 3, 4. All of that was news, and then we started going with date formats around the 7th episode, which that was on the yeah. Anyways, 4th of August there. But yeah, we have had a long run, especially compared to a lot of other podcasts out there, which I think it was episode 10 where you referenced the statistics of how many podcasts don't make it that far.
Yeah, and I think it's actually episode 7 or 8.
Oh,
I should
yeah,
say,
7 or 8.
Where,
Let me look.
Where most
50%
of podcasts do not
yeah.
make it past their 7th episode.
Yeah, that's what it is. Exactly. Only 50% of podcasts make it past 7 episodes, and we said we'd like to thank Sarur, Mahidi, and all the other powers that be for the opportunity. And yeah, that's still true.
We would be remiss if we didn't mention the listeners. You, listener, thank you very much for listening. Andy and I would probably still chat every week anyway. So
hey, I am sure we would.
I sure hope we would. But we're having a great time doing this, but it really does give us some meaning. It makes us feel good, if that means anything to you.
Yeah.
It's
that warm and fuzzy feeling that you know that someone else out there is listening to the words you say, and sometimes they actually enjoy it too.
Yeah.
And it's the best feeling in the world to me, to make something that others enjoy.
Speaking of the best feeling in the world, or at least the best, this may be the least best episode so far. So we really do need to talk about some Microsoft stuff here.
Oopsie.
Yeah, but thanks. All right.
Hey, this is a special episode. We get a little leeway here.
We do. And you're fine, Andy. So, Windows 10. Microsoft, obviously, Windows 10 was this is their big year for Windows 10.
Yep.
Windows 10 was released about a year and a half ago now.
And this publicly. Wait, maybe we can just do a little introduction here as we get moving on from the intro, as we get to move into Microsoft and Windows 10, a year in review. That works.
Yeah, a year in review. So initially, Microsoft had Windows 10 available for free for everyone using 8, 8.1, and 7. Yeah, and you would be able to upgrade whatever. If you had Windows 7 Home, then you could upgrade to Windows 10 Home, and also same thing with
Home Premium for 7 to Home for 10. There was a lot of confusing names really with Windows 7 era SKUs. And then with Windows 8 they simplified that. Windows 10 they simplified it. I think they simplified it even more with 10, although they added on some extras for education. It's all easy to understand now, I think.
Yeah, and so the pricing, obviously, the free stuff ended like they said that it would, July 28th, and so 29th.
Well, 28th was the last day to get it.
Yeah,
Then 29th was the actual day it cut off. A lot of people were wondering, okay, so on July 29th, can I still get it or not? And the answer was a resounding big old flat no.
With a couple loopholes. But you would need to be morally off kilter to use those loopholes. But then again, if you're on the internet, if you're an interneter, well, whatever. I won't make judgments.
Don't meet anyone from the internet. They're going to kill you, clearly.
Yeah. But they were right. They started charging people for Windows 10 on July 29th, a year to the date of when it was officially available. And they've been on a great pace, not as good of a pace as they had hoped, but they're shooting for 3 billion devices within 3 years. A billion devices in 3 years. Yikes.
Whoopsie.
And part of that they had counted on. This was a year and a half ago when they said this. they had counted on a substantial portion of that. And substantial could be a small percentage, but still many of those being Windows 10 mobile devices. And just recently, we've heard that plan kind of got scrapped. Not really scrapped, but that it basically was not going as well as they had hoped, but it was still a good goal, and that's fine.
I honestly really don't like how they suddenly shifted. Like when they announced they wouldn't meet their exact target, they specifically blamed it on Windows Phone device or Windows 10 mobile devices not doing so well, and it's like, I honestly feel like that's a bit of a scapegoat.
Yeah.
Like they feel, okay, only our diehard fans care about Windows Phone anymore. We can just blame it.
But who should they blame for Windows Phone, Windows 10 Mobile not doing well?
Well, it's they're not blame. Oh, okay, yeah, but as for
it's still the blame falls the same place. It's just that
everything goes back to a variety of things that honestly it would take a lot more research and a lot more information than I have on hand to go on about everything 100% accurately. So I won't. But I don't know. Regardless, I think, moving on to some of the more positive sides of stuff, just because I don't like going on about negative stuff right now. Positive side of all this stuff that's gone on this year, Windows 10 has just grown crazily. I mean, it's not only just the user base growing and growing up until the day that, the upgrade ended. And of course, it's still growing after that with the sales of new PCs and the rare people buying their license to upgrade it. There's also another kind of growth, because you have user growth and then you have platform growth. And that kind of platform, or rather, the operating system growth, I might have finagled that there. But anyways, the actual growth of the operating system, I think it's been crazy, because the anniversary update is, even with how many people mock the name, you cannot deny that it was a massive improvement to the operating system, just like Threshold 2 was all the way back when. But this was...
One could argue that, like, between Vista and 7, for example, that upgrade, that was like, a big upgrade. But one could argue that the anniversary update was basically in that realm of importance. And they did that in a substantially less amount of time. And the pace isn't changing. Like, they're continuing to roll stuff out. And I wish I had specific dates that I could quantify this a little bit better. But that's how I feel about it. And I'm so impressed with what Microsoft has been able to do as they update Windows 10.
Yeah. It's an impressive update. I'm not sure if I'd say it's a tier of Vista to 7 jump, because much of what happened with Vista to 7 was extreme performance improvements, which also worked their way into Vista Service Pack 2, which Vista Service Pack 2 on some machines might as well be Windows 7 with a few different features gone. But yeah, it's fairly close. It's above what you would normally get from a service pack, especially when you have stuff like the start menu design changes, you have the ongoing app updates and upgrades. You have so much that did get changed. And it honestly, even if I was kind of skeptic at first, it has improved for the better, I do believe. I still have my issues. I still have my reasons to get mad on Twitter, of course, and I always will. But it was a huge step in the right direction.
I still miss Charms Bar from 8.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm thinking about this from a desktop side.
I know.
You actually you have touchscreen device or a touchscreen monitor, don't you?
Well, not a desktop touchscreen.
Okay,
no. But I mean, I have.
Yeah, you got
I have
the
a little
Surface.
8-inch display tablet. I have. I had the original Surface. I have a Surface 3.
Yeah.
Those touch devices obviously behave quite a bit differently than desktop. I mean, the UI that is used, it could be quite different. I mean, people know what I mean by this.
Yeah, I get what you're meaning entirely.
It's
back
back to the big updates.
Just to continue
to
some of the stuff there, just real quick, and just say, I really do believe that it is hard to find the perfect balance between touchscreen perfection and desktop perfection. I mean, they had they had the tablet side just right with 8, I believe, and they didn't have the desktop side right whatsoever. Then with Windows 10, they get the desktop side pretty perfect. Yet people with touchscreens who used 8 with touchscreens say the touch experience is a significant downgrade. I have not used Windows 10 with touch or on a tablet, so I can't really compare that area. But it is hard to strike a balance as you look at how they tried to merge things. Like, for example, the Charms bar pretty much became quick actions in the Action Center.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got most of maybe not quite. You don't have the share charm there, but the share charm was integrated into apps, I believe.
Yeah, and it was there, but it was app specific.
Yeah.
We don't really want to spend the whole episode talking about Windows 8, I guess, but
I consider the improvements that Microsoft continues to make throughout all of Windows 10 Windows 10's continued development. I'd say that's fairly relevant.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But it also kind of leads into. Oh, I'm sorry for cutting you off, but
I would say that the updates, we've had so many great updates. The pace of improvements have been tremendous, obviously, and so much of that can be attributed to the Windows Insider program. I think that is so cool how that has been happening. And one of the things that happened through 2016 was the passing of the baton from Gabe All, who everyone immediately loved. I mean, he was fantastic. Did such a great job with it. Really, just in the interim, just kind of doing two jobs at once. And he had passed it along to Donna Sarkar, as she is now leading the Insider program. And it's been incredible, some of the things she's been able to do, and the team, obviously, as far as insiders, and just the pace of builds that get pushed out, fast ring, slow ring.
Yeah,
all the several different layers.
One of the great
rings,
things that I've noticed, since Donna became head of the Insider program, initially I figured, okay, this position probably more of a figurehead than anything. Well, not quite. With Donna, the Insider program has changed not too much, but there's now an actual consistent schedule for build releases. When builds get started up again, you can almost be exactly sure that it's going to release on either a Wednesday or a Thursday, more likely a Thursday than the Wednesday. And that's the kind of consistency, especially with some of the timing. You can expect it Thursday afternoon usually. That's the timing and consistency that really, really, really was requested back when Gabe was leading the program. No, I don't mean this as anything against Gabe. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that they met something that was requested for a while, especially by people I know over in Europe who just had no idea what to do at times when builds were going out. So that's an accomplishment, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, as we progress forward, RS2 has been getting worked on, obviously, throughout the year. That's just internal code name, or code name for the next update.
Redstone 2, also better known now as the Creators Update. And
I thought was such a cool name anyway. It really turned some people off, and I understand their viewpoint of that. But I think it was cool to see that they just wanted to try something different. And really, once the public gets this build, once it's available, this update, I should say, they don't really care what it's called. They just know, okay, well, this is the new thing and it works, and here's the stuff in it, or whatever.
That's true.
I think it was pretty cool to see how they had. I feel they were posting up against Apple, saying, or squaring up against Apple, saying, hey, you guys obviously didn't bring the heat or whatever with the next round of Apple with their computers, and so Microsoft is, and I love it. I love all the stuff. I don't know if we're going to talk about that right now, but all the stuff that's in the Creators Update, and especially the hardware.
We can talk about some of the stuff with the Creators Update, and maybe we can squeeze some of the hardware in there too. I mean, we've got Surface stuff over on it in its own little section in our notes, but we can certainly mix it in. I don't really mind. I don't think anyone else does.
Well, Paint 3D, for example. Paint was like, really? Paint? Microsoft Paint? but they really kind of doubled down. I hate kind of saying that, but Paint has gotten so much better, and it's one of the core, almost like a basic app, and it really got pretty cool. There was wow, oh yeah, the people bar, which is like
Yeah. Also, the
Microsoft
people
or
bar is called My People, and
yeah.
it is something that I really, really, really hope does not get cut or delayed. It is something where you can start pinning your contacts to your taskbar. You can see all your recent communication with them. You can communicate with them all right from the taskbar. It's basically an IM service built into the taskbar, at least from what I gathered, and that is actually really great.
I love what they showed off with that and all the things that it can do, and really to make it more personal. I get that. But
Yeah,
then again, the other side of it, and I've said this before, and I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record, but that's what Windows Phone was in 2010. I mean, why? To be honest, actually, Windows Mobile 6.5 had little inklings of that, and they massively improved upon it with Windows, especially Windows Phone 7.5 was the golden era. And I whatever, I'll at least the golden era before Windows 8. Whatever, I'll stop talking about that. But I like it the way they're going, and I would imagine that with the Home Hub type thing, that get into that later maybe, but the people integration into that where you'd have family. Oh, what am I trying to say here, Andy? The family login kind of.
It's focused on being personal, providing more contact between people, and then as that starts to open up, as you have more devices that are focused on being family devices, and more communication, more personal marketing buzzword.
Mm-hmm.
I get what you mean though.
More personal computing.
Yeah, more personal computing, and I do wonder if personal computing is going to be one of Microsoft's next initiatives, because what I really see these updates as, like the anniversary update was an initiative to improve upon the base of what was there. The creators update is an initiative to improve, to get that experience on Windows 10 for creatives going really strong. It's a focus on a specific area, and I do wonder that, especially as we move on to stuff like Harman Kardon's, I hope I said that right, Cortana speaker, as we start to get, it's like even with the creators update, you see a ton of updates being put into Cortana, almost enough that I'd say that Cortana might be the most improved part of the creators update, at least Cortana for home device.
Yeah,
And we'll get more into
that. Yeah,
and we'll get more into that later, but it could very well lead into a personal update or a communication update or even just the Cortana update, something along those lines, that they're leading up to something huge, I think.
and even with all the other, generally the personal home devices, home assistants. Let's bundle it that way. With all the stuff coming out with that, I think Cortana, like you said, is going to be. It's got a big year ahead of it. If we're not really trying to make any predictions, but yeah, Cortana is just getting. Not saying it's just getting started, but it's going to take big steps next year, I believe.
Yeah, for sure. And let's see what else here. I gotta flip through our notes here because I just kind of zoned out on that window.
Yeah, some of the things that I put in here weren't in necessarily any particular order, but things that I felt were noteworthy. And I think for many people, especially Windows Mobile fans, the messaging everywhere saga, basically, are we going to do this? Are we not going to? Depending on which build it was in, is it tied in with Skype? Is it the messaging everywhere app? Is it this other new app that was brought on? Is it back like it used to be with Windows Phone, where Facebook Messenger and regular MSN Messenger was tied right in? Like, it was so interesting how that progressed back and forth, and like how Skype. Oh, let's talk about Skype. Let's do it. Let's open that can of worms.
This is the one where I get to say that I actually like where it's headed.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not saying that we wouldn't. I don't know. I don't
know the general consensus on Skype at the moment. I don't know if there's any like Windows Skype community to follow, but honestly, I'm just really only speaking about myself here. I don't know the general consensus other than people really don't like Skype, but I feel as if that the Skype UWP app, Skype Preview in Windows 10, is excellent. It is easily the best experience I have ever had with Skype, and it gives me extreme amounts of hope for the platform's future. Heck, we're even recording this with me running Skype Preview,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just great. I use it daily for talking to people I know. I either be that through chat or voicemail, and it keeps getting improved as well. Like just recently, it got support for translating messages and calls in real time, and that's a feature that I think was in Skype Desktop for a little while now.
Well,
And
it was previewed, boy, almost a year ago. I think you had to kind of get in on a private beta for that,
yeah,
if I remember correctly. But yeah, the translation part was just blowing people's minds a while ago.
Yeah.
And now it's starting to get rolled out. But as far as the different apps, yeah, I'm not even going to try to keep track of them. But I would say I need two hands to count all the different Skype apps that are available to me that I use frequently, let alone different ones that have already been phased out and things. I mean, between the different operating systems, of course, and then different versions of Windows, whether you're on Insider or not, obviously Windows Mobile, which ring you're on. I don't. It's so odd. It just felt like Skype itself. I'll call it the blue and white Skype, the older style Skype, was just so legacy. Like the people running that were just so separated off from Microsoft proper, and they wanted to maintain that independence. And then eventually they just kind of, I don't know, let free of the reins, and all of a sudden we're jumping leaps and bounds ahead, making this completely way different Skype app. Of course, Skype tied into messaging app and all that type of thing. And I love the direction. The tie-in with Cortana was interesting, where you're basically that ties in with messaging everywhere. I'm sorry, but all of that, I'm not really offering any insight except that it's freaking confusing and hard to keep track of. But like you said, Andy, I really am excited for where this is going, and I'm really excited for how many people use Skype. I love that that's such a large number. And I also love that they see this as very viable, very worth investing money into. And one last thing to mention, I forgot about. We used to think that the Slack competitor Microsoft was working on was going to be called Skype Teams. Well, most definitely was not named that. Eventually, they'd considered it. And one of my favorite moments of the year, actually, if I go way too off on a tangent, is when I was in Atlanta for the totally spacing out what that was. Don't even remember what event that was, but I was in Atlanta and
that was
Microsoft. I will remember eventually.
Atlanta.
Ignite.
Yeah, that was Microsoft Ignite. You've been to enough events this year that now even I'm starting to get mixed up.
I haven't been to too many, but it's been a fun year for that. Anyway, when we were there, one of the questions asked to Frank Shaw, he's the head of marketing or something exactly, he asked about, well, what about Skype Teams? And I just love that he said, well, we don't talk about what we haven't talked about yet. And then, a week later, well, I don't remember, a month later, they announced Microsoft Teams. But that was one of my little highlights of the year. I thought that was...
Yeah, it was just absolutely great to me, at least, that they were not going with the Skype branding for that. I mean, the service itself, launched in beta, still got a ways to go, lots of potential, but I am just so glad they did not brand it as Skype, because even if, I feel as if Skype for Business, which was formerly Link, is really good.
Was that actually this year still? That might have been this year when that rolled over, just the beginning of the year.
Actually, I remember it being from last year, but...
Perhaps then, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, though, I disagreed with renaming Link to Skype for Business, but I still think that was...
But Link doesn't really tie into anything else Microsoft. It's kind of legacy. And Link was still there. Like, I still use Link 2013 or something at work, but eventually it'll just get renamed, and I think that's as actually just fine. There's no value in the link name, I feel. Because if people are
That's
already
true.
using it's just there's going to be an update and it's named something different. Okay. I don't, yeah. But
But yeah, like just to
is-
finish it though, like
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
I kind of disagreed with the branding, but it made sense in a way because it's a video call app. It actually can connect to regular Skype, and it's kind of like what Skype is. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. It's the exact same type of basic format of communication. So it made sense, I guess. I didn't think it was good from a Skype perspective. Like this was, I believe it was announced. Yeah, it was announced way before the Skype preview app, and my experience with Skype then was pretty bad, as with most people's, honestly. But
Well, speaking of Skype being announced,
well, I mean, just to finish it though, like
yeah, fine.
with Teams, it didn't make much sense at all. And so, yeah, they surprised us all and did what I thought was the right thing. So, yes, now on to the next.
Well, as like you said, with Skype being announced, Skype is no longer just a noun. And sorry, that's a horrible pun and segue, but Skype is a verb. To go, okay, I'm going to Skype you, and they might not even use Skype. Now, to be fair, people also say, I'm going to FaceTime you, but that
Listen, I'm just going to interject here and say that if someone says they're going to FaceTime me, I am assuming that I am about to get punched so hard I'm not going to feel my jaw for a week.
Well, when someone tells me I'm going to get FaceTimed, I will tell them I do not link up, even though I have an Apple product, iPhone for work. I have not turned on FaceTime or iMessage because I don't want that messing everything up. And believe me, working in mobile, selling mobile, and helping people switch up platforms, that is one of the biggest pains in the butt. And Apple actually got sued over that, how difficult it is to extract iMessage from really going down a rabbit hole here. But
Yeah.
iMessage and FaceTime are much more negative connotation to me than I'm going to get. I will Skype you or something.
That's fair
that was my point, and I like that Skype is now becoming a verb. I think it has been for a bit, and not just a noun.
Anyways, now I think maybe a good time to move on from Skype to something that's really groovin'. Okay, listen, you can no longer feel bad about any of your segues, but Microsoft Groove, holy crap, the improvements it's seen.
Yeah, I am happy for Groove.
Yes.
I don't remember what year it was. I don't think it was this year it went from Xbox Music to Groove.
It was during the Windows 10 original Insider program when it changed over to Groove.
Okay,
and
so over a year and a half
because it
or
launched as
so.
Groove with Windows 10.
That's right. Yeah. But that in itself has been a change. I mean, it wasn't too much before then that it was Zune still, and that was still just a few years
Yeah,
ago.
and heck, the name of the app, if you look in the Windows Apps folder, is even still Zune Music, even after all this time.
Oh, you mean the code?
Yeah,
okay.
the actual name of the folder in Windows Apps is Zune Music, and also Zune, not. What was the video service? I know I guess
Well,
it was just Xbox Video.
Xbox Video, but then also just video. I think there was even Microsoft Video, and might have even been a version which was called Microsoft Music or something. But there were
Yeah,
so many.
whatever.
We're so
Microsoft
blessed with all these rings.
Microsoft, the company that renames technology as fast as it makes it.
But then again, I would imagine that look at Google. Google does the same thing. We're just
for
not,
sure.
just not as close to our faces as Microsoft is, obviously. So it's easy for us to be critical.
Well, I think that the argument that could be made here is that people actually use Microsoft services.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
Okay. I mean, Google's got a lot going for it, but they've also got so many things that just end up dead and hardly used by anybody. See both Google Plus and Picasa.
Yeah, I think
You got your turn to slap Apple. Now it's my turn to slap Google.
Go for it.
And now the moment's over.
Oh,
It's
I'm
dead.
sorry. I runt it. uh, but uh, but I would say that people actually pay for Microsoft's services where they do not necessarily pay for Google's services, and that is one huge differentiator. And I will give, I will not give a shout out anyway. But there was recently we've been set straight again by some people as far as the what Microsoft and Google and Amazon and Facebook are doing with your data and what their goals are. It is pretty obvious what Facebook is trying to do with your data. It's incredibly obvious what Google is trying to do with your data. I mean, like 80% of Google's revenue is from ad data, advertising, and of course, the data that it gets from you is helping target those ads, obviously. And Amazon can be said about them. Whereas Microsoft has specific business models, how to make money that are not related to your data. And that is one reason I am still a Microsoft fan. Why I began as a Microsoft fan years ago, and I still feel pretty good about Microsoft being mostly non-evil. Notice how Google doesn't say what their tagline used to be, "Don't be evil" or something. I haven't heard that in a long time from Google, and I think it's wise for them not to try to persist that message when really I don't feel very good about Google. I feel dirty if I use my Gmail. We're really getting off in the weeds here, Andy.
Yeah, I suppose that if we're going to go with highs and lows of 2016, one of the lows definitely would be, for Windows users at least, how they have constantly been fighting with Google, especially on Windows 10 Mobile, where for a while you couldn't even add a Gmail account to Outlook because of all the crap Google kept pulling. Yeah. So,
yes, you're right.
This is the end of the Google talk, I hope, because we don't have anything in the notes on that.
Okay. Well, I guess oddly I should add one more little thing about Groove, Microsoft Groove, is that recently, due to like the family home hub kind of stuff, we've heard rumors that a Groove family pass could be coming. And of course,
definitely
this should have happened years ago. But if this does, if the rumors hold true, this would be something it would just be icing on the cake, and I would just be very, very happy. I have very few complaints with Groove at this point, and having a family pass would solidify my happiness in the service.
Oh yeah, I started this year. I mean, if you had it started January 2016. If you were to ask me what I thought of Groove, I would think, oh dear, here we go. And then as the podcast started getting going, there started to be introductions of stuff like Your Groove, which I actually became a Music Pass holder for a while to try stuff like that out, and I loved it. I really, really enjoyed it. And that alone started to become a game changer for me, especially as the user interface was already evolving by that point and becoming less clunky. Then, I think it was September where they released a major update for Groove, which started to bring visual improvements, major visual improvements such as little blur effects here and there, just an overall touch of polish to the user interface, and it's like it became a bit of a joy to use, for me at least, especially as they brought in the mobile user interface to the desktop, which had been lacking for a while, oddly enough. And so you can just get a phone-styled music player right there in a little window. I mean, kind of like what mini players used to be, which, saying that alone, makes me think of something like Real Player back in, I don't know, 2008. Probably more than that. I mean, whatever. But it's just great. I don't know. I like it a lot.
Mm-hmm. And even the things that we forget, the bugs that are gone that we really kind of don't even notice are fixed. Gapless playback used to be that was a big problem, that we would still get that little momentary pause between tracks, and now it is fixed. And to be honest, I don't remember when that got fixed. Like that was...
It was during the podcast era.
The last 6 months. Yeah. I was thinking maybe like 2-3 months ago when the groove that I was using was repaired, was working well. Anyway, or in that regard, gapless playback working.
Yeah. Some of the other stuff that's gone fairly well for Microsoft this year, their earnings.
Yeah, money.
As much as anyone can say a lot of stuff about Satya Nadella, but one of the biggest things that isn't really an opinion, he has made their stock rise dramatically.
Well, let me interject.
Okay.
It is an opinion because we can't necessarily say that it's because of him. But many people do attribute this to him, and that's fair. He's leading the company, and at some point, the tailing edge or whatever, lagging tail of the previous administration, let's call it, eventually ends, and then Satya's credit begins. But I'm not trying to argue with you. But yeah, absolutely. There's so many people that are just thrilled with what Satya has done. I'd say in pretty much every case, his everything now is under him. There can't be many remnants of the old, old guard or whatever. But so many people that I know from Microsoft are just thrilled to hear, to know that Satya's leading the way. People that I've talked to at some of the events, just in passing, they don't refer to him as, his lordship, Mr. Nadella. I mean, it's just Satya, and it's just, whatever.
He seems like an incredibly nice guy when you see him talking on stage as well.
Well, he would be doing his job very well if he seemed
it's
upset.
True. Very true.
Anyway,
yeah.
But yeah,
the company does seem to be doing well, even if they've done some things that we think are questionable, such as $26 billion American dollars heading towards LinkedIn, which I am still struggling to understand, but there's a reason behind it, I guess.
My mind cannot fathom $1 billion. I can attach, a piece of land, perhaps, or like a property, or perhaps a business, to something that costs $1 billion, but it's still very difficult for me to fathom that. And so, well, it's like you're saying, that's just an insane amount of money for a company which I wouldn't say is valueless, but
they obviously have some value if they're being bought, but it's something where how are they going to earn that money back? There is tons of user data, and there is lynda.com, which
it certainly isn't even. Well, you know what? I've actually heard that could be close to a $1 billion business. I find that very difficult to believe, and I actually question the source where I heard that. But I would say, well, whatever. I don't know that. But it's not a small company. Lynda, as far as an online training, what do you call it? People know what Lynda is, right? Like it's a
if you listen to
tutorial,
podcasts regularly, you're going to hear about Lynda every day. So I have a feeling they know what it is.
Yeah. Anyway,
but if you don't, it's an online training course site.
The top one, as far as I understand,
online training course site. And
anywho,
I see that there's ways to earn the money back. I just don't quite understand how it's going to play out in the long run. But whatever. The deal is actually already approved by regulators in both the U.S. and the European Union. So,
yeah, it's allowed, but it hasn't really taken effect yet, as I understand. But it is kind of interesting how the top guy for LinkedIn, I don't remember if he was the actual founder or just like the president or CEO right now, had been pretty close. Let's call it friends, I suppose, with the top Microsoft folks, and I'm sure that had something to do with the purchase. But you can't really justify $26 billion because of your buddy, your crony across the other city nearby or something. But I would say that a lot of this, like, imagine what would have happened if Google bought LinkedIn, or Apple, or Facebook or something. It's kind of
honestly, I could only, out of those, I don't think I could see Google buying it, or even Apple, but Facebook for sure, and they would turn it into Facebook for Work.
Yeah,
that would be the actual name. You can guarantee it.
which is like an oxymoron, but still. But yeah, like you said, Facebook could have bought it, and Microsoft would have missed out on that data, on that potential revenue stream from premium, and of course all that the tying in. What do you call it? The integrations, basically.
Yeah,
Imagine
they
LinkedIn
actually
tied
have
into
been.
Outlook and stuff,
They
which
actually
is
have
already
been
happening.
outlining stuff for tying out LinkedIn into Windows 10, which honestly, I guess it does continue their focus on the enterprise, but I'd expect some of that to be able to be done without spending $26 billion. That's just me, though.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Because it would be collaborative means that both people win or both parties win. So why you would not you should not have to buy a company to collaborate with it. If so,
Yeah.
you're really forcing it, and it probably wasn't going to, that collaboration or integration probably isn't going to work well. So that's still
still a thing.
gray for me, I guess.
Yeah. But something else that you might spend $26 billion on?
Enlighten me, Andy.
Video games. All of the video games. And this has been a big year for Xbox, seeing how this is the 15th. It's been 15 years since the launch of the original Xbox, the launch of Halo 1, and all sorts of
and
other...
let me just add that 15 years is a substantial portion of my life, but it's a really substantial portion of your life, Andy.
Ooh, yep.
And that's
It's
that's
just
crazy.
It's crazy.
To think
Yeah,
of that.
it is crazy to think about that. There are kids going to school that are younger than the Xbox. It is, I mean, I guess there has been for a while now, but you get what I mean.
Yeah.
It's insane to really think about how long some of this stuff has gone on and some of the stuff they managed to accomplish in this year. They turned what was originally seen as, well, it wasn't exactly seen as suicide, but it wasn't seen as something to be very lucrative, to something that was and is very lucrative right now.
Well, speaking of progress, or I should just say shifts, how things shift. Obviously, gaming wasn't a big thing for a while, and it has grown into a big thing, of course. But now, even just in the last, let's just say 2 years, especially this year, we've seen a big shift towards viewing gaming. This is what I heard, is that now there are more people watching people game than there are people gaming. I don't know when that flip has happened, but things like Beam and Twitch and there's other stuff.
Esports that even air on ESPN. You can see people play Dota 2 on ESPN. It boggles the mind, for me at least. I mean, nothing. I have nothing really against esports. I mean, honestly, it's pretty much a chess tournament, so nothing against it. But it's fascinating to think about for me.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Microsoft picked up Beam earlier this year, a startup made by someone who is actually, I'm pretty sure he's still 18 years old.
Wow.
And he got picked up in this massive Microsoft acquisition, and now his service Beam is being built into Windows 10, and it's also getting Windows 10 apps, Xbox apps. It's going to get integrated with Microsoft accounts, and it's crazy. And then, as for other stuff on the gaming side, of course, it's hard to go without mentioning the launch of the Xbox One S and how that's dominated the charts for a few months, even if Sony managed to steal their thunder back in November.
Andy, let me ask you this. What do you think about the price drop on the One S? Even if it is not like permanent, I mean, you can get one with a game right now.
All the sales?
Well, sales, yeah, but I mean, like,
Yeah.
You can call it a sale, but if it's always at that price, it's pretty much a price drop. Not saying that this is bad, but it's almost half price from when it launched, right? I don't remember the exact price when it
No,
came
not
out.
really.
Wasn't it
there were
$450?
well, no, it was $400 for a 2 terabyte version, which is they said it was supposed to be for launch only, but there's still a lot of stock of that version left. The versions you're seeing go for about $250 or so. That is the version that's obviously got the lowest amount of storage. I think that should be the 500 gigabyte model, which normally retails for $300. So technically only 50 off.
Okay, well,
Good deal, though. I would recommend picking it up.
Thank you for correcting me on that, though. That I misunderstood it, but
And then there's been a ton of variety of titles coming out this year. A lot of them made to support, or not made to, but a lot of them supporting one of the Xbox One S's greatest functions, 4K HDR if you have a 4K TV. This is high dynamic range, again HDR for short, and its focus is on making the colors on your screen brighter and more lifelike, and it's great. And some of the titles that come out this year, there's been Forza Horizon 3, there's been Gears of War 4, and don't quote me on this because I'm just going by memory here, but I'm pretty sure they said that ReCore would get a patch to support it in the future. I'm not sure if that's happened yet. And it's just been a huge year for the Xbox, especially as we also look at all the backward compatible games from the Xbox 360 coming over. They hit over 300 now, which is also pretty crazy. They've come a long way from just a year ago, even more so than I'd say even Windows. They have made even more progress than that, especially as they've gotten a new dashboard, which for those of you who don't know, it's the home screen basically. For the Xbox, they've gotten so much changed up, and it's heading in the right direction. And easily, I think it's, and maybe it's just because I'm the one here writing about it, but it is easily the Microsoft product with the brightest future, I think. There is so much they can do with it, and there is so much they are going to do with it. I've got a lot of hope.
nice. I am excited for it too, even though I'm not a gamer, do not even own this. I think it's exciting.
I'm going to make you eventually.
I won't resist. I'm looking forward to it eventually. You just send me a large allotment of free time, and I will gladly pick up gaming. I want to cover on my favorite Windows device of the year, and then I think we're going to save some of these other pretty awesome categories for the next episode. My favorite device of the year was the LG Windows 10 refrigerator. I thought this was so cool, and not in a serious way. Well, okay, kind of in a serious way. But this was before we talked about the home assistant stuff, before this craze, and I know that the craze isn't going away.
And trust me, we talked about it. We talked about it a lot.
We talked about it a lot. Basically, how this fridge, this screen in the center of your home, like this communal space, was going to help your family run more smoothly. And I'm not trying to speak tongue in cheek here or anything. Like this, it used to be people would write on the fridge. They had little sticky notes. Calendar was there. Magnet your little Post-it note, like whatever. And it's even doodles. I remember as a kid, we would have like letters. You would magnetic letters you'd put on there and make little messages or just whatever words and silly stuff. And why could you not do this with a fridge with a display on it? Windows 10 obviously works well with inking and sticky notes and OneNote, calendar, all these things on here. And at the time, the concept of you'd have to create like a separate family account, and it wouldn't really be perfect. You'd have to like log in and out between accounts at the time. That was really the missing link. And now with Family Hub, this concept.
Home Hub.
I'm sorry, Home Hub. Wow, Home Hub. The concept of this, where it's going to make multiple. What am I looking at here? Like multiple logins. It would kind of solve that problem. I don't know how they're going to solve that yet.
Just to kind of go to the fridge itself, and just it would, if that existed over 15 years ago, or not over 15 years ago, my bad. If 15, 13, whatever, it would save me from that moment as a kid where I decided to scribble on a fridge with crayons right before my dad was going to sell it. So I support the digitization of fridges for that reason alone.
And even the fact, which was very gimmicky, but I just love that people are being creative with this. Honestly,
I love how creative Windows devices are getting in general. I mean,
yeah,
people are looking to not reinvent the wheel, but they're looking to change up the PC and the way it's seen. People are always looking for something new they can do. Microsoft did it with the Surface Studio, where they had that new form factor there. They did it with the Surface Book.
You're
They
giving
did
away answers to next episode here, Andy. We still got some some caroling left to do, Andy.
Oh crap! Well, just to finish this up though, okay. they're still looking to reinvent form factors or create new ones, and I love that idea.
Love it.
Okay, now we get to the ending segment where this week, to finish things off, I ran a poll on Twitter last week after recording the last episode.
Don't do this, people. Don't run Twitter polls without.
It was 2 a.m.
Without the mentioned person's advice or permission.
Do I force Vernon to sing a Christmas carol at the end of next week's episode? The answer to that was a resounding yes, even if only 14 people voted. It said that Twitter, according to Twitter, after doing the math, apparently not even 1% of a person voted no. So, Vernon's got part of a person saying no. I'm assuming this guy's halfway.
He's obviously
thinking
not
yes,
all
halfway
there.
Thinking no. Yeah, I mean, he's obviously very divided, but so that technically means that not even one whole person supports or is against this. So now we get to see it. Now we get to hear and so now we get to listen to Vernon sing "Ode to Joy" in German.
Well, okay, Andy was trying to get me to pick out what Christmas carol, and I normally don't sing anything. And the last thing I sang karaoke was actually System of a Down, which is not very karaoke-like, nor is it very carol-like. Sometimes it sounds German, but that's no. But last week, Andy talked about was it last week or the week before? Talked about the best Christmas movie of all time.
It was last week because we had to edit it in after the episode because immediately the second we hit the stop button, we were like, "Oh crap!"
I forgot it. Yeah, which we almost forgot caroling. Unfortunately, I mean, boy, that would have been horrible if I didn't, get to sing carol. Andy, you got to sing this with me, buddy. I don't know if I'm going to get you to sing with me.
I'm worried about syncing this up and editing, but let's give it a go.
But that's true. It's going to be tough to sync it up. Anyway, but we picked Ode to Joy because of the best Christmas movie of all time, Die Hard. And Ode to Joy is the theme song for Die Hard, which of course is what the internet says. I don't know how accurate that is. But why would we sing this song in a translated, distilled down and just not thorough interpretation? So we went with German because that really is the
we're
core.
Purists.
We're purists here.
Yes, we go for the definitive experience, and of course, the original language of the song is the best way to experience it, especially when you have never spoken German whatsoever and have no idea how to.
Listeners, if you can't tell, we're stalling. We are totally stalling. I do not want to sing
He's
this
stalling.
in German.
I'm helping him stall.
Oh, my goodness, yeah. You're enabling.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to do
now,
it. We're singing Ode to Joy. It's going to be in German. Andy, you only get one verse out of me, buddy. That's all you're getting.
All right.
So I'm going to start. I don't know how well it's going to sync up, and that's for you to edit, and good luck with that.
Thank you. And a 1, and a 2, and a 3.
Freude Schroner, Gorten Funken, Tochter aus Elysium. Wir betreten Freude trunken, Himmel schlägt dein Hektim. Don't know that word. Dein Zauber binden, where dear, I'm a little bit off, was die Tranquility something. Menschen, where der Brüden, vor den Safter flogen Welt. How, I am glad we did this at the end. I told you once,
Listen, I lost you. I completely lost position during that first one, and I'm gonna have to edit in a backing track to this.
Do what you can with it. I'm sure it's going to be a challenge.
We're gonna go with Wonderful MIDI.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it. I'm really glad we did that at the end of the episode because we probably still had listeners halfway through that verse. But I don't know if anyone's listening to this now. Folks, that's it.
Yeah. That's the end of the show. It's 12:02 a.m. and I am going to have a long night ahead of me.
Yeah, and I got a long morning ahead of me. I got to be up in about
man.
4 hours. So,
Whoops.
anyway, folks, that's it. We really appreciate you putting up with us for this 6 months or so far. This podcast. I've been having a fantastic time. Andy, you've become a good friend of mine, man. This has been so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
This
This has been one of the best things that I have ever become a part of, and I am so glad that we are here. And just, it's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's it, folks. Thank you for listening. We really do appreciate it, of course. Next episode will be the conclusion. We're going to hit up some stuff that everyone loves to hear about. Obviously, Surface. Talk a lot about Surface stuff. Talk about some events that I attended, which was a lot of fun, and I like to brag about, which is really silly. Nothing to brag about, but it's a lot of fun. Definitely talk about Windows Mobile. We didn't talk much about that at all. We're going to run down a list, and I think we will surprise ourselves on how many Windows Mobile devices there were this year that we just kind of forgot about.
Yeah, and we're also going to hit on our top 5 highs and our top 5 lows for Microsoft over the past year, and also share some thoughts on what's going to happen in the next.
I'm excited for that. And Andy, you didn't warn me about that, so great. I have homework. Thanks, but that's reasonable. Everyone else is doing it, folks. We better as well. So that's it for this episode. I don't know if we're going to end up over time or not, but that's it. Have a great week.